Have you ever wondered what really goes on behind the curtain when you apply for a job? From that first click on Submit all the way to becoming a part of the team? Well, there's this whole complex system at work. Today, we're going to unpack that system. We're solving the people puzzle. This is the journey through human resources.
So let me start by asking you a question. When you picture a really successful company, what do you think is its most important asset? Is it their brand, their secret formula, maybe all the buildings they own? You might think it's one of those, but the real answer is something else entirely.
Yep, it's the people. It's that simple, and it's way more powerful than any technology or patent. The people are the engine that makes the business go, the creative spark behind the big ideas. They're the heart and soul of the whole operation.
But here's the thing. Managing that engine, finding the absolute best people, helping them grow, keeping them fired up and motivated, that is easily one of the trickiest and most important jobs in any business. And that's where human resources comes in. They're the ones tasked with navigating this incredibly complex world of people.
So what exactly is human resource management, or HRM for short? Well, the textbook definition is right here. It's the whole process of hiring, developing, and motivating employees to help the company hit its goals. But here's the real takeaway. Modern HR is not about paperwork and filing cabinets anymore. It's about strategy. It's about turning a company's people into its single biggest competitive advantage.
And one of the biggest shifts we've seen is moving away from just tracking what someone does. As HR consultant Andrea Herron puts it, the focus now is on behavior. It's not just about what you get done, but how you get it done. Are you a team player? Do you help others? That's the stuff that keeps the human in human resources.
You can actually map this whole thing out. It's basically a 7-step journey, kind of like an employee's life cycle. It all kicks off with planning and recruiting, then moves into training and development, and finally lands on things like performance reviews and pay. Each step is built on the one before it. So let's start at the very beginning.
All right, let's dive into that first chunk of the journey, how a company goes from a pile of applications to a new employee. This is where getting the puzzle pieces right is absolutely critical.
So where do the people even come from? Well, companies really have two main ponds to fish in. First, they can look internally, promote someone who's already there, who knows the culture and the business. That's great for morale. Or they can look externally, to the outside world, to bring in fresh blood, new ideas, and different skills. It's a huge strategic decision. Do we build our talent from within, or do we go out and buy it?
Okay, so once they have a pool of candidates, the real selection process begins. And a great way to think about it is like an obstacle course with a series of successive hurdles. At every single stage, from just screening your resume to doing a background check, some people get filtered out. Only the applicants who clear every single hurdle make it across the finish line and get that job offer.
And the interview is often the highest and trickiest hurdle of them all. This chart is a perfect example of how easy it is to trip up. Just look at that first one. The interviewer asks about a conflict. The person's answer? It was a waste of my time. Immediately sends up a huge red flag, not a team player. Or the second one. The person solved a problem by just doing the work themselves, but the interviewer sees that they didn't actually fix what was causing the problem in the first place. It's these little things that can make or break an interview.
Now, while some companies are focused on filtering people out, others have a totally different approach. They focus on creating an amazing experience for every single person who applies. And the absolute master of this is the Ritz-Carlton. Their whole philosophy is right here in this famous motto, and get this, they apply it to job candidates just like they do to their paying guests.
They literally roll out the red carpet for applicants. Live music in the waiting room, snacks, chocolates, a thank you note even if you don't get the job. So why do they do all this? Because they get it. They know that even a rejected applicant could be a future customer, or they might tell 10 friends about what a great experience they had. It's a masterclass in what we call recruitment branding.
Okay, so the perfect person got hired. Fantastic. But the journey is not over. In fact, it's really just beginning. The next huge phase is all about growth. What happens after you're on the job?
When it comes to learning new skills, training usually falls into two big buckets. You've got on-the-job training, which is exactly what it sounds like, learning by doing. Think of an apprentice or having a mentor show you the ropes. And then you have off-the-job training. This is when you learn away from your desk. Could be a workshop, an online course, or even a pilot in a high-tech flight simulator.
So all this training is great, but how does a company know if it's actually working? Well, that's where the performance appraisal comes in. You might know it as the annual review. It's that formal meeting where your performance is compared against the company's expectations. And this is a big deal. The outcome of this meeting can directly affect your pay, your training opportunities, and whether or not you get that next promotion.
And that brings us to the final leg of our HR journey. Let's get into the real tangible stuff, the rules, the rights, and of course, the rewards. When we talk about compensation, most people just think about their paycheck. And that's part of it, for sure, but it's really only half the picture. There's direct pay, that's the cash you see, your salary or your bonus, but then there's indirect pay. That's all the other stuff, the benefits, health insurance, paid time off, a retirement plan. It's the part of your compensation that gives you security.
Direct pay can be a really powerful motivator. So take this number, $4,700. This could be what a salesperson earns in a month. But it's not just a flat salary. It's a mix, a base salary plus an accelerated commission. That means the more you sell, the higher the percentage of your commission gets. It's a brilliant way to incentivize people to really push for that next sale.
Now, if you want a story about the power of indirect pay, look no further than Starbucks. When the founder, Howard Schultz, said he wanted to give health benefits and stock options to his part-time baristas, his investors practically lost their minds. They thought he was some crazy idealist who was going to sink the company. But Howard saw something they didn't.
And wow, the results were just incredible. Look at these numbers. Starbucks' turnover for part-time employees was about 65% a year. Now compare that to their competitors, who were seeing turnover rates between 200 and 300%. That means they were replacing their entire staff 2 or 3 times every single year. Schultz proved that investing in benefits wasn't a cost. It was a genius strategy to slash turnover and create a better experience for customers.
So while some companies like Starbucks choose to offer great benefits, sometimes the relationship between workers and management gets a little more structured. And that's where labor unions come into play. A union is basically an organization that represents a group of workers, and they use a process called collective bargaining to negotiate contracts that cover things like wages, hours, and safety.
But what happens when those negotiations stall? Well, that's when things get interesting. As you can see here, both sides have some pretty powerful tools in their tool belts. Unions might go on strike or organize a boycott, and on the other side, a company might lock employees out or hire replacement workers. It becomes this high-stakes chess match where each side is trying to apply pressure to get the deal they want.
And all of this brings our journey right up to today and leaves us with a really big question for the future. The service industry continues to create millions and millions of jobs. So how is that fundamental relationship between a company and its most valuable asset, its people, going to evolve next? That's the puzzle we're all waiting to see solved.